It is 3 days before Thanksgiving. Actually, it's nowhere near that time right now, but let's just pretend. The first thing that you might notice is that I look like shit. And that is because I believe Thanksgiving prep is a full contact sport, and that you should at any given moment just be ready for anything. And by anything, I mean just the messiest shit possible. This isn't the Little Leagues, folks. This is the main event. No time to pussyfoot around. Leave the pearls in the dresser. We're gonna brine a turkey today. The obvious thing that you need is the turkey itself. You will notice that this one is still frozen, and yes, you can wet brine a frozen turkey. There is no need to defrost it separately. It can defrost while it is being brined, and that can save you a lot of time. So I've compiled a bunch of ingredients for the brine. 1 cup of kosher salt, half a cup of light brown sugar. The spices themselves, I kind of eyeballed. See this, I'm guessing this would be probably like a 1/4 cup or an 1/8 cup of coriander. This looks like the same amount of black peppercorns, 4 black cardamom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sticks of cinnamon, 2 tablespoons of allspice, ground bay leaf. About a pinch would be like a leaf, so I'm gonna do a couple of those. And this time around, I'm gonna try something a little different, Lee Kum Kee chicken powder and Wei Chun seasoned vegetable powder. Both have a bit of MSG in it. This one has chicken essence and this one has some vegetable essence in it. And we're gonna use this in lieu of just a boxed vegetable stock. Back to the spices. When it comes to a brine, I kind of believe like it's really hard to put too much. I've never brined a turkey, made corned beef or anything like that, and thought to myself after I cooked it, I think I did too much of something. There are certain spices that I'm not afraid of putting in too much, and that would be, for me, black pepper and coriander. You might want to hold back a little bit on the allspice and the cardamom. Anything powdered you want to like be a little bit careful of, because that tends to be a little bit more concentrated and the release tends to be faster. But if you're using whole spices, that's the beauty of using whole spices actually, is that it's subtle and slow, which is great because this will take almost 2 days. You should brine a turkey for about 1 hour to 1.5 hours for every pound of turkey. This one is 14.5 pounds, so that is 14 hours minimum, 21 hours for 1.5, with a maximum of 48 hours for any size turkey, because then you run into like, food safety handling issues. So for the sake of experimentation, I'm gonna go ahead and do this for 40 hours. Now all that there's left to do is assemble, which I will do the gross part over the sink. All right, here we go. And there's a frozen turkey. Looks like we have the neck stuffed in its cavity, but since it's frozen solid and not defrosted yet, we can't get it out. That is okay, because you're supposed to rotate the turkey after 24 hours anyway, so in that time, we can get in there and take all of this out. There we have it, ready to assemble. Now, the easiest way to mix everything is simply to start with some hot water in a saucepan. We're going to combine all of these things into a small amount of liquid, heat it up so we can dissolve the salt, dissolve the sugar, and get some of the essential oils from all of these other components out into the water to make it mix and absorb into the turkey more easily. Use the least amount of liquid that you possibly can to get this job done, because we don't want to wait so long for the whole thing to cool down. In goes the salt, in goes the sugar, as well as the chicken powder and the vegetable powder, pinches of the bay leaf, allspice, cinnamon, black cardamom, coriander, and black pepper. And we're just gonna whisk until nicely mixed. And once you see that it's pretty much dissolved, wait till it just before it starts to boil so that you know it got hot enough that a lot of the essential oils from the spices get out into the liquid, and then you can take it off the heat. And voila, there we go. That's all set. Now, I am an impatient person, but I'm not crazy. I'm not going to dump that hot liquid all over this still frozen turkey. That would probably cause some kind of food safety nightmare. but you can use ice to speed up the process. So take your brine concentrate, I guess we can call this, and just mix it in with a bunch of ice until it's cooled. And there you go. Now it's safe to mix in with this. I'm going to add even more ice to everything because the colder things are, the better. For a turkey of this size, we're gonna need about over 18 quarts or a little over 4.5 gallons, close to like the entire bucket. We're just gonna move the turkey a little bit to make sure that it stays submerged for the whole time. And we will revisit this in 40 hours where we will do phase 2 out of 3 of our Thanksgiving turkey prep. Oh God, okay. Oh shit. This is why I work out. Ooh. Whew. Ugh. This turkey has only been here overnight, but there is still some ice at the top, which is a good sign. The colder this stays during the brining process, the less chance that there is a lot of bacteria growing in the turkey itself. That is why we only limit the brining period to 48 hours, regardless of how big your turkey might be. That being said, the turkey was frozen when we started the brining process, and there's still like stuff like necks and stuff that's in there. So we're gonna go ahead and take those out now. But we are gonna do that part over the sink because this is what? Gross. Also, if you are brining your turkey for an extended period of time, it's also just good to just flip your bird and check on it every now and then. I had to take the bird out just to make it easier, but you know, I did get the neck out of there. These are probably the giblets. There those are. Stick this back in. Please don't splash. There we go. And if you have experience washing your chicken or poultry or anything, I don't need to tell you, but thoroughly wash your sink after handling any kind of raw poultry. So now that we've rotated our turkey and taken out all of the frozen stuff that was on the inside out of it, we'll come back tomorrow when we will drain it from the brine, put it on a tray, and let it air dry for 24 hours before we finally cook it. We'll be back after this. It has been another 12 hours and the turkey has now been in the brine for nearly 40. Oh God, heavy, okay. So now we can assume that all of the sugar, the salt, the spices, the essential oils have now been absorbed into the meat of this turkey that will give us a very, very nice, tender, juicy meat when we cook it tomorrow. But the downside to using a wet brine is just the fact that it is wet, which means the skin tends to not cook very well. And that is always the disadvantage of using a wet brine, is that you don't normally get attractive, crispy, delicious skin. So we're gonna try something that I haven't done before, but I've heard helps you with that problem, and that's simply just to air dry the turkey for a further 24 hours before cooking. There is still a tiny bit of ice on the surface of this water, and that is very encouraging to me because that leads me to believe that this remained very cold, but still like, you know, liquid, so that it was still able to absorb all that flavor, but not so much that it became a little bit like concerning food safety wise. Because when dealing with any kind of turkey or poultry at all, you always have to take food safety into account. And that simply means carefully pouring it down into the sink and washing your hands and your sink when you're done handling your turkey. Now, with this turkey on the tray, we are going to just let this air dry in the fridge for another 24 hours. And hopefully that will dry the skin enough that we will get us a nice and perfect crispy skin once it's time to roast. Good night. It has been 24 hours, probably a little bit more, since I stuck this turkey in the refrigerator to air dry. You can see here, the skin is nice and dry here. You've got some of like, you know, the spices and stuff still on it, but you know, all I see is coriander, and that actually roasts pretty beautifully. At this point, you do what you want to your turkey. You can do the butter thing where you like lift the skin and then you rub the butter on the inside in between the skin and the meat. You can rub it on top. At the very least, I do suggest like, you know, a nice coating of oil or fat or butter on the skin of your turkey so that it gets nice and brown and crispy. But because I did a wet brine of this turkey, I don't really feel like it's all that necessary to get up in there just to add another layer of fat under the skin and then over the skin. Yes, it creates a very rich and tasting turkey, but I don't find it necessary if you go through the steps of brining it. I think it's juicy enough, it's flavorful enough, and if you do a good job of basting it, the skin will be great and crunchy on its own with just a layer of oil on top. So, my turkey dressing, for what I'm gonna stuff inside my bird, is just gonna be garlic and onions with ginger, a bunch of sage from my garden, but it's all gonna be mixed with this New York Shuck, unsponsored but delicious, harissa preserved lemon. So, you know, you oftentimes put citrus and lemon inside your turkey. I'm gonna take this harissa preserved lemon, put it all in a bowl, mix it all up with this stuff, and then stuff the turkey with that. Do not stuff your turkey with stuffing. Dressing/stuffing should be made separately, because if you make your dressing or your stuffing, however you call it, first of all, if you cook your turkey the way it should be cooked, the dressing will be undercooked and full of gross raw turkey juices, causing an immense safety hazard. But if you cook your turkey with dressing in it and the dressing is cooked all the way through, your turkey has been dry and completely ruined up until that point. It takes so long to cook the dressing all the way through when it's stuffed in a turkey, it is not worth it. And low-key, dressing can oftentimes be more enjoyable than the turkey itself, depending on whose house you're eating at, so do not fuck around with the dressing. Do it separately. And I do interchange dressing and stuffing all the time. I'm not well. First thing you're gonna do is preheat your oven to 325, which I've already done. Next thing you're gonna do is, if you're using sticks of butter, to put it on the stove and start melting it, because I forgot to do that earlier. Now, for the stuff that I'm putting in the turkey, have I done it before? I have not. No, I can't say that I have. I have not done anything like this before, except for maybe like throw things inside a turkey before roasting it. But like I said, I've got a lot of time before Thanksgiving. I would like something, I would like to not have Thanksgiving style turkey all the way through to then. So why not experiment a little? I feel like a little bit of like North African and Arabic inspired flavors would do quite well with regular dressing and stuffing and mashed potatoes. So I'm gonna do it in my turkey. Also, like the ingredients for example, like za'atar. Like what's in za'atar? Thyme, sumac, salt, sesame seed, oregano. Like there's plenty of that goes into a turkey already, so why not give it a try? So here I've got some loosely chopped onions and garlic. I'm going to throw in some ginger, which I've washed but not peeled. The insides aren't gonna get eaten anyway. And here I have some beautiful smelling harissa preserved lemon. God, that smells incredible. I'm gonna put in lots and I'm just gonna, yum. Now we're just gonna mix this up a little bit, real nice. Add in the sage leaves in there. I'm just gonna do the whole sprig. And now we just put this in here. Maybe if I did it like this way, so the camera can see it. I don't know if the camera really needs a front and center view of what is going on in here. I'm very interested in what this does, what this would do to like the turkey itself, considering that I'm not, what's it called? Considering that I'm not actually putting this on the, considering that I'm not putting this on the skin itself. The skin is gonna be butter and za'atar. That's it. Okay. There we go. All right, the butter has melted. All right, so some folks might say to like salt and pepper your turkey now and then to put butter on it after, but the turkey's skin is so like dry and slick and smooth, I feel like it would make more sense to like get some liquid on it with butter in the form of butter and just mix the salt and pepper like with your other skin ingredients. Now that that's done, we're going to truss our bird, and it's pretty easy to do it. You don't have to overcomplicate things. You don't have to get all 50 shades of gray with it. You just simply tuck in the leaves under the breast. Like, imagine like you're going like this, and like the breast is over here. Like, that's kind of what you're doing. You're taking the tips of the wings and you're sticking it under, there we go. So it's kind of like, under the chest. Or I should say under the, oh, actually, technically the turkey would be going like this, where like if this were the wingtips and like this is the breast, it would kind of be like relaxing in a way. So relax your, now that's all I see. Relax your turkey and then wash your hands and get your butcher's twine, because I forgot to get my butcher's twine with clean hands. When it comes to this, it's just a matter of tying the leg shut and kind of like making sure that everything is nice and closed, so that, you know, nothing, so that you're trying to keep these legs in. You're trying to make it like so that there's no way that this part of the turkey or this part of the turkey right here can cook too quickly. That's pretty much the whole point of all of this, is so that it is nice and tight and cooks very evenly when it's in, and it doesn't get all like loosey as it expands out. So get the legs together, get them nice and tight together like so, and then wrap it around the, I guess the butt cavity. One trick when you're doing any kind of trussing thing, you know how you like start off tying your shoes like so? You do that little one loop. If you do it 3 times, do that loop 3 times and tie it down, then as you tighten it, it will not let go. It will not loosen up. So it's a lot easier to get it tight when you do it like 1, 2, 3, as opposed to just like 1, 2 when you're tying your shoelaces. That's the best way that I can describe it. Good luck to you all. But that's really all that there is. Now for the top of the turkey, very easy, just brush it with butter. And the turkey is still cold, so your warm butter should, you know, dry and cool and harden on the turkey skin itself. It's amazing where you can, like, the places that you'll fit when you're all lubed up. I don't want to take too long, because before it all solidifies, I want to throw on a ton of this and rub this on here. And am I using a lot of za'atar? I am, but do I have access to a lot of za'atar here in Michigan? I do. So I am not being shy with this. In fact, I'm doing a little bit of za'atar and some more butter and some more za'atar. Maybe get in underneath, flip this bird over. Get the underneath parts. See what I mean? She's like doing like this. Do. Salt. Some cracked pepper. And voila. If you do a lot of you know what? Never mind. The one thing that I recommend, you know what? Scratch that. If you cook, you should always, one of the most useful tools anyone can have ever is some kind of meat thermometer or a meat probe or something along the lines of that. So I've got this over here. At the very least, this thing, it's called a chef alarm. It's fantastic, unsponsored. Nothing in here that I'm using in this video is sponsored, but this is a lifesaver when it comes to things like turkey or prime rib or even steak. So what you'll do is you've got this probe here, right? And you'll stick this into either like the breast, the thickest part of the breast, or the thickest part of the thigh. And when the thigh reads 160 degrees Fahrenheit, you can set an alarm here to do that. And when this goes off, that means your turkey is fully cooked and it's time to take it out. That is how you get the juicy turkey, the delicious turkey. The amount of butter, the amount of brining, all of that is secondary to just not overcooking your turkey. This is gonna be the thing that makes your turkey the most delicious. I have recently upgraded to a fancier thing. This is like a Wi-Fi enabled thing. I think this thing is called Chef IQ. I've used this on prime rib, and I've used this on like some super thick steaks. And I like it because it comes with 2 probes. And one, as you can see, is already right here in the thigh cavity, following the bone, not touching any bone. And then I'm gonna put this right here along the thickest part of the breast. Again, without touching any bone whatsoever. There, now I have 2 readings. It'll send to my phone. It'll tell me like the trajectory of the temperature, so I can remove it while it is still cooking. Once it hits like the peak temperature, it will be doing so during the resting phase and not while it's in the oven, which ensures that I will not overcook it. Very, very nifty, these things. Instead of my fancy convect oven, I'm gonna go ahead and use this very basic cast iron oven here. This oven right here is the baking oven. That's set, the temperature is set to around 300, like 325 degrees, 350 degrees-ish. I like using this oven for doing recipe stuff because it works on a range and not an exact temperature. Not all ovens are the same, not all ovens are calibrated the same, not all ovens are even calibrated well. You don't really know unless you have an oven thermometer in there what temperature your oven is. It is better for me to tell you the range as opposed to tell you the exact number, because you don't know if the exact number exists in your oven. So for me, this is 325 to 375. That is a big range, but at the end of the day, I've got my oven thermometer in there, and I'm gonna assume that this is gonna take about an hour and a half. I totally forgot to cover the turkey. So you don't have to do it too tightly. You're not trying to steam the turkey or anything, but covering it a little bit will prevent the skin itself from burning too quickly. That's what I meant for do this part, so cook covered for an hour and a half, and then you're gonna put it back in and finish the cook that way. That's what I meant. There we go. It has been close to an hour and a half, and I just got an alert saying that the internal temp for the breast is at a point where I can take the foil off. Okay, first of all, this smells amazing. Not gonna look great right now because the turkey isn't fully cooked yet. So let's get this back in there. Oh, look at that herb, look at that za'atar crust though. That's gonna be so delicious. Okay. So now that I've removed the foil, it'll take probably another 2 hours and 30 minutes before I can actually just remove it from the heat to rest, according to my probe. But if you are keeping track with some kind of meat thermometer or a meat probe, you should just pay attention and keep track of the numbers, and then checking more and more frequently as you approach 165. What's my book doing here? That's not a shameless plug at all. So now we have a turkey. Why does it look so much bigger now that it's cooked? Now we have our za'atar encrusted turkey. The thighs have been cooked to 165, and the breasts, unfortunately, are slightly higher. But we have to at least have the thighs at 165 before we bring it out. It needs to rest for at least 15 minutes. I hate this part because now I just have to sit here and look at this turkey, and it's like really, really pretty. But yeah, just to let this rest for 15 minutes and then we can get to carving. "15 minutes have passed and now it's time to carve." Now I know what people say about buying stuff like unitaskers or tools that are only meant for one thing, but when it comes to holiday food tools, I think they're worth it. Do I use these turkey grabber claws once a year? Yes. Am I glad I have them every year? Yes. Do I know how to use them? I'm not sure. Not really. I got it. Got it. Okay. Boom. Bam. We shall revisit drippings and gravy in a different video. My favorite way to carve any kind of turkey, or to carve any kind of poultry in general, is in this order: legs, And if the juices are clear, that means your turkey has been cooked through. When you're cutting the legs, just separate out the bone. So there we go. Legs, there. Just pop it out of its socket and then cut through there. That's easier. And then the wing. And then the breast. There we go. Put the carcass over here. Save this. This is actually the best part of the turkey. Separate the drumsticks from the thighs. Slice up the breasts. Dark meat is a little bit tricky. So you might have seen a little bit of red, a little bit of pink that has been in some of the liquid of the turkey. That is not blood, that is hemoglobin, and that happens when you cut into any animal and you haven't cooked the ever-loving life out of it. I know this is gonna be fine because everything was cooked to the proper temperatures. The breasts actually are overcooked a little bit. They got to like 175 degrees, which is 10 degrees above what you need to be cooked. We had to wait a little longer because the thighs took a little longer to get to 175, which is the temperature that you want this one to cook at. So that is it. Let's give it a little taste, see how it is on its own. Here's some white meat, my least favorite, but oh. It is slightly overcooked, but that is delicious today. Oh man, the za'atar is great. It is very, very well seasoned. It is got the sweetness of all the herbs and aromatics. I can actually taste the things that I put in the brine. The fact that I can eat this on its own without gravy or cranberry sauce, yeah, that's excellent. I do think za'atar should be on your rotation for a turkey rub. Try it. Buy some turkey parts, buy some turkey thighs, buy like a turkey breast on its own. Brine it, do your thing, but give za'atar a try because that has been the kind of the winner in this experiment right here. I have one more turkey in the freezer, so I'm gonna try that, maybe do a Christmas thing. But yeah, that is my turkey video. Thanks for joining me on this ride, and I will see you next time.